So in the first picture on the left, I'd hit injury. I'd just broken my neck playing rugby for Sheffield Tigers. Rugby career was finished, hit rock bottom. My granddad died 3 months later, and I ended up going through a painful divorce as the result of my own destructive behaviour, which I take full ownership and responsibility for. I'm then going to talk you through the turning point. So when I met my first coach, David Stacker, we went for a walk around a lake in Hillsborough and built the transformation that you now see. I'm going to talk about the brutal truth about what it took in terms of time and commitment. I'm going to discuss the ridiculous fitness lie that you keep being sold by fucking muppets on social media. If you're watching this and you advertise it, yes, I think you're a fucking muppet. Key elements that create the results, why short-term intensity creates long-term freedom, how this physical transformation fixed all the other areas of my life, and what this means for you, the listener, and how you can apply this in your own life, and how you can also get in touch with me if you'd like my help achieving what I have. So, first of all, you can take a look at the two photos. Again, we'll put one here. As I said, this was March 2013, and we'll put the second one here, which was in 2014, around about 12 to 15 months later. I didn't really train for the first 3 months from the start picture fully because I was still recovering from the broken neck. So the picture on the left, or the picture you see on the screen now or have just seen, was me at my lowest. It was the most body fat I'd ever gained. I was mentally broken. I was struggling with addictions. I was physically broken. I'd only just taken my neck brace off. And life wasn't good, shall we say. You know the rest of the story, so I'm not going to go into that on the purpose of today's podcast. But on the right, me is 12 months later. Physically shredded, fitter than ever before, mentally unstoppable. I just competed and got through to the final of Fit Factor. You can see the picture here of me walking across the stage. And I'd just done a photo shoot, which is the picture here, the first photo shoot I did, which was the day after competing. So this podcast is really going to tell you the story about how I went from that start picture to being in the second picture, just 12 months from the start picture, and also how life has looked since then and how I've still improved and maintained that physique 12 years later. So, as I said, within 12 months, it was December 2012 when I broke my neck playing for Sheffield. My granddad then died in February the following year, and that was also the year that I went through a very painful divorce. I kind of went back into DJing. I was getting on the gear at most of my gigs. I was drinking at most of my gigs, and I was generally just hiding away from my own happiness. And my physique was really starting to show the effects of drinking every weekend, eating shit throughout the week to recover, and just generally being in a victim mindset of living in blame, shame, complaining, guilt, regret. And as I said, it was the rock bottom moment. Everything changed in March that year, so nearly 4 months after breaking my neck, which was the start picture, and I saw a very good friend of mine, Dave Stacker. He was actually carrying the belt into the beginning of one of Kel's fights, which was televised live on Sky Sport. I reached out to Dave, explained the situation. He said, listen, come down to the gym next week. Let's have a chat about what's happened. Let's get you moving. I'm going to introduce you into a good physio who helped me loads, a guy called Mark Rowe. And that was the beginning of the journey. So as we were walking around the lake, he says, what do you want long term? And I said, I want a cover model body. I said, I've been in shape. I've played rugby for years. I've been a PT back in 2001, 2003, around about that time when I was also doing the club stuff. But I'd looked good in those periods, way better than I looked at this point when I'd really let myself slip. But I'd never hit that level of body fat. I'd never grown that amount of muscle. I'd never had that cover model look that I always wanted, even as a teenager, from watching shows like Gladiators and Baywatch and wanting that cover model body. So, he said to me, it's hardly. And I think sometimes it's not really the response that you're looking for. He said, it's very tough to get in that shape. He says, but I'm excited and I believe in you. And we can get you in that shape. I've got other people in that shape, but it's going to test me and it's going to test you, because you don't get a Premier League body like that with a Sunday League effort. So that was the conversation, that was the start, and that was what changed my life. And it didn't happen overnight. And it also didn't happen, yes, Muppets, if you're listening, training for 3 times 45 minutes a week and eating pizza and still having a social life and drinking at the weekend. People are selling you that lie all across social media, and it's fucking bullshit unless you want that transformation to take 7 years, not 1 year. So let's get really clear on that, okay? That isn't a picture. The pictures you see there, okay? That's not a 6-week transformation. That's not a 12-week transformation. That's not even a 6-month transformation. It's a 12-month transformation. And it took 12 months of absolute commitment, okay? Training 5, 6, sometimes 7 times a week. Sometimes getting up and doing 45 minutes cardio in the morning and then doing my weight session after work. Let's not forget I still worked full time and had 2 businesses, and doing my weights in the evening. I nailed my nutrition every day. I went to, anyone from Sheffield will probably know them, I went to Paul Cox and Claire Cox's wedding, and I didn't drink at the wedding. And there's a picture of me still eating my meal in the car park, my meals that I had outside of my meal. When I had the meal at the wedding, I just had the beef, the vegetables and the potato. Dave was actually at that wedding with me. So I nailed it every day, not just when I felt like it. I gave up drinking for the entire year. At that wedding, I didn't drink because I was coming up to the competition. I did have a couple of drinks in that 12 months, but it wasn't a regular part of my life. I didn't do any gear at the weekends. I didn't get on it. I didn't party. I didn't go to festivals. I didn't go to Ibiza that year. It was the first year I didn't go. I didn't chase other coaches. I didn't chase shiny new plans who told me I could get there quicker. You know, I trusted Dave and I did exactly what I said. So part of the reason for me wanting to express this on this podcast is I'm just sick to death of coaches promising people that they can get Premier League results with a Sunday League effort in less than 12 weeks. It doesn't happen. It's absolute fucking bollocks. You're being sold a lie. The same lie where business mentors are telling that you can become a 6-figure coach in less than 12 weeks, working 4 hours a day, if you just give them money to tell you how, when they're sat in their ivory fucking tower, knowing damn well that they fucking grafted for 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, probably 3 to 4, 5 years of their life, until they then managed to maintain that body or that business working for 4 hours per day or per week, whether we're talking business or fitness. So that's not how I built my body. That's not how I built my business. And that's not how any of them built their bodies and their business. So let's just get fucking clear on that, okay? Stop falling for bullshit and then saying that all online coaches are scam artists, or, you know, all business mentors are scam artists. Yes, a high percentage of them are, and I could name a lot of fucking names right now, but I won't because I've got a level of integrity. But if you're being sold a dream that sounds too good to be true, i.e. drop 10 kg in fucking less than 5 days without going to a gym while still eating pizza, then it probably is too good to be true, because they're pulling on your psychology, the same as the business coaches. You know, make X amount of money without sending any DMs, without posting social media content, without learning about marketing. It doesn't fucking happen, and it pisses me off because they're essentially creating a list of all the things that you don't want to do. They're then creating a list of all the things that are your deepest desires. And then they're creating a list of all your pain points. And they're saying, I'll take away all of this pain and give you everything that you want without you essentially doing any work or stopping anything that you love. That is fucking Disneyland thinking, okay? And they're ripping you off. You know, the reality is, at least Dick Turpin wore a fucking mask, didn't he? Most business mentors and coaches aren't even wearing masks. They're straight up ripping you off, and that's why you keep getting burned.